There are moments in life when it feels like God is silent. You pray, but there's no answer. You look for him, but you can't see him. You wonder, has God forgotten me? But the story of Esther shows us something powerful. Even when God's name is not mentioned, his hand is still at work. This is the story of an orphan girl who became queen, a powerful enemy who wanted to destroy her people, and a hidden God who turned the story upside down. The year was around 480 BC. The Persian Empire was the largest and most powerful kingdom on earth. At the center of it all was King Xerxes, ruling from his magnificent palace in Susa. Xerxes was proud and loved to show off his wealth. For 6 months, he threw a banquet displaying his treasures. And on the last day, he called for his queen, Vashti, to appear before his guests and show off her beauty. But Vashti refused. Humiliated, the king removed her from her throne. And just like that, the most powerful man in the world was left without a queen. Not far from the palace lived a young Jewish girl named Esther. She had lost her parents and was raised by her cousin, Mordecai. They were part of the Jewish people living in exile after Jerusalem had fallen. When the king ordered a search for a new queen, Esther was taken into the palace. She was beautiful, yes, but it wasn't just her beauty. She was humble, kind, and wise. Out of all the women, the king chose her. Esther, the orphan girl, was crowned queen of Persia. No one knew she was Jewish, because Mordecai had told her to keep it secret. At the same time, Mordecai uncovered a plot to assassinate the king. He reported it, saving Xerxes' life, but he received no reward. His good deed was written down in the records, and then forgotten, or so it seemed. Soon, another man enters the story, Haman. He was powerful, arrogant, and loved honor. The king promoted him above all other officials, and everyone bowed down to him. Everyone, except Mordecai. This one man's refusal filled Haman with fury. But instead of punishing just Mordecai, Haman plotted to destroy all the Jews in the empire. He convinced the king to sign a decree. On one appointed day, every Jew was to be killed. Imagine the fear. The Jewish people, scattered across the empire, now faced annihilation. And God, silent. No prophet appeared, no miracles, only silence. But in that silence, God was moving. When Mordecai heard of the decree, he sent word to Esther. You must go to the king and plead for our people. But Esther hesitated. Going to the king uninvited was against the law. If he did not raise his golden scepter, she would be executed. And he hadn't called her in 30 days. Mordecai's reply cut deep. Do not think that you will escape in the king's palace. If you remain silent now, deliverance will come from somewhere else. But who knows? Maybe you have come to your royal position at such a time as this. Those words stirred courage in Esther's heart. She sent back her answer, gather all the Jews. Fast for me. I will go to the king, and if I perish, I perish. At that moment, Esther chose faith over fear. On the third day, Esther put on her royal robes and walked into the throne room. The king looked at her, and then he extended his golden scepter. Her life was spared. Instead of blurting out her request, Esther invited the king and Haman to a banquet. And then, at the banquet, she invited them again to another feast the next day. Why wait? Why not speak immediately? Because God was setting the stage. That very night, the king could not sleep. He ordered the royal records to be read to him. And what just happened to be read? The account of how Mordecai had once saved his life. The king asked, what honor was given to him? None. Nothing. The next morning, Haman entered, ready to ask permission to hang Mordecai on the gallows he had built. But before he could speak, the king asked him, what should be done for the man the king delights to honor? Thinking the king meant him, Haman described a parade of glory, royal robes, a horse, honor through the streets. And the king said, excellent, do that for Mordecai. And so Haman himself had to lead Mordecai, his enemy, through the city, proclaiming his honor. What irony! The man who planned destruction was forced to celebrate the very one he hated. That evening, at Esther's second banquet, the king asked her again, what is your request? This time, Esther spoke. If I have found favor with you, let my life be spared, and the lives of my people. We have been sold to be destroyed, killed, and annihilated. The king demanded, who would do such a thing? And Esther pointed, this wicked Haman. The room froze. Haman was terrified. The king stormed out in anger. When he returned, he saw Haman falling on Esther's couch, begging for mercy. Outraged, the king ordered Haman to be hanged on the very gallows he had built for Mordecai. Do you see it? God's hidden hand. Every detail, every sleepless night, every coincidence was God working behind the scenes. But the story wasn't over. The law of Persia couldn't be undone. The decree of destruction still stood. So the king issued a new decree. The Jews could defend themselves. When the appointed day came, the tables turned. Instead of being destroyed, the Jews were victorious over their enemies. Mordecai was promoted, dressed in royal robes of blue and white, and honored throughout the empire. And the Jews established a new festival Purim to celebrate how God had turned sorrow into joy. The Book of Esther ends without mentioning God once. But if you look closely, his fingerprints are everywhere. An orphan becomes a queen. A sleepless king remembers an old record. A proud enemy falls into his own trap. People marked for death are delivered. This is the message of Esther. Even when God feels silent, he is still moving. Even when he seems hidden, he is still present. Friend, maybe you're in a season where God feels far away. You can't hear his voice. You don't see his hand. You're wondering if he's still there. Remember Esther. Remember that the hidden God is still the faithful God. He may be silent, but he is never absent. The story of Esther invites you to trust God's providence, even in the silence. To be courageous, even when afraid. To believe that he is working all things together, even when you cannot see it. Because just like Esther, you are here for such a time as this. If this story blessed you, make sure to like this video, subscribe for more Bible stories, and share it with someone who needs encouragement today. And tell us in the comments, have you ever seen God working behind the scenes in your life?